Hello everybody, today I'm not feeling too hot, so I thought fun to just take some time and experiment and play around. And I saw my gouache when I was cleaning my room, and I'm kind of feeling an urge to dabble in that medium, so we'll see where we end up. Yeah, feel free to grab your own sketchbooks and draw along. Let's get creative. The speed and intensity at which I play around with this pencil directly correlates with my excitement. So something that's been inspiring me lately, there's when people paint like portraits of faces, they'll use all sorts of different colors, like in different areas of the face, like greens and purples that you might not expect. So that could be something fun to study and see what colors look good where. Those are some uneven eyebrows. Whenever I sit down to just sketch and I don't really have a clear idea of what I want to sketch, I always start with a female face. It's just my go-to warm-up doodly-doo. You probably could have guessed that if you've seen any of my sketchbook tours. Always the nose blushy. It's always important to warm up when you plan on drawing something because your wrist, like every other muscle in your body, is a muscle. So whenever you work out, you gotta stretch to make sure you don't hurt yourself, and drawing is no exception. So now you can go and tell all your friends that you work out every day if you draw every day. Kind of feel like I want to draw a ball cap. Not a bald cap, a ball cap. So it extends a little past where the head ends, a little knot at the top. A bit of a sporty look, maybe sweatshirt. Maybe she's holding it with her hand. This is kind of how my sketches always start in my sketchbook. Not a huge clear idea, but I'll do one thing and then it spins off and kind of like influences the rest of it. With little knots on the ends with an egglet. Let's move the cap up this way maybe. No. Where's my eraser? Uh-oh, where is my eraser? Let's turn the hat backwards a little bit, but like off skew. And that like section here. I think I'll move the hand down here, so it's still grabbing the brim of the hat. Kind of like this. But then this arm's gonna end up a little lower. When there's a lot of foreshortening going on, I tend to scribble because I kind of have a vague idea of where like the arm is going to end up. But I find that when I like scribble away, I can kind of find the lines better and I can see which lines I like and which ones I don't. And then this can actually become the sweatshirt. Maybe it's rolled up to the elbow. So it'd be all super baggy there. Shirt underneath that because it's a little too cropped to be decent. There we go, got a little sketch. My wrist is feeling a little bit warmed up. I'm not going too detailed with a lot of it. You'll see like there's still a lot of sketches and that's pretty good for a warm-up. A lot of people probably say for a warm-up you probably shouldn't even go this far, but I don't know, that's just always kind of been my rhythm. The more you experiment, the more you'll find what works best for you. Now when I fill a sketchbook spread, kind of like this one, the like graphic designer in me wants to create contrast between all the sketches, so I'll usually like change size as I go around. So this is a pretty large sketch. It takes up almost half of this page, a little bit more actually. So I usually try to figure out what size and location would the next illustration look visually pleasing as a whole. Now, even though I think like that, it doesn't always turn out like that because you might start here and be like, okay, that's where the sketch needs to be. But when you start sketching it, you learn, oh, I want to take up like space over here and I want to go over here. And I let the creativity take me where it wants to go. I'm not limited by like these choices because it is a sketchbook and it's meant to be messy and fun. So, and full of experiments. So for this one, I kind of want to follow those random lines I drew, and they look kind of like pigtails. So let's play around with those. Figure out where the body is. It'd be fun if it had two big bang sections, but they're kind of like side swept. Let's use a little flower to keep her hair up. All the way down there. Some arms somewhere. She's sitting there on nothing, as you do. The sketch is a little bit more loose. And I kind of like looking at sketchbooks when they're full of things like this, because there are so many extra lines. I feel like several people could look at it and see something a little bit different, which all comes down to interpretation. Whereas as soon as you start like detailing it and refining it, it starts becoming what the artist wants you to see, which both have their redeeming qualities, I think. I think this arm's a little too crazy for me personally. I'm gonna try and bring it down on this knee. Now, if you do have a sketch that looks kind of like this and you do plan on refining it, what I would suggest is take like an eraser and then lightly erase just a small bit of it so that you can still see what it was, but it's not overbearing, and then just go back over it with your pencil and pick your favorite lines. But I want to keep on going, practicing a little bit here, so let's go in another direction. I do really, I'm feeling, where is that? I really do want to play around with these gouache. I have a primary set here, so I think it would be fun to dabble in those. So let's see. Kind of want to try and use this whole page here. I'm really feeling the like head straight on to the camera point of view. So let's just draw a very big face so we have a lot of room to play around with the paints. Figure out where the eyeballs are, nose and mouth, ears. Try and a little more effort into sketching something here. So I like to start super sketchy when I'm really trying. It's important to have a good foundation and then build upon that. And I find scribbling lightly and building up on it to be the best way to do that, for me personally. And then when I start to see the lines that I like, I can go ahead and darken them. And when I'm sketching, since I want to use these paints, I'm trying to think of a color scheme even at this stage, because that can help influence what sort of accessories or different elements, supernatural, that I want to like incorporate into the sketch. I've been really liking these big ears, big round ears lately. Glowing eyes kind of sounds fun. Scribble out some eyebrows here, figure out their shape. I feel like eyebrows can say a lot about a character when you're illustrating, because if you make them sharp and pointy, you can make the character feel a little bit more sharp, and if you make them big and round and soft, it makes the character feel softer without doing much else to the face. Now for hair, I really want to keep it chunky, like I've been talking about a lot lately. So let's try, what if there's like a headband, a little bit of skew, and we have some bangs, big chunky bangs, maybe with a little curl on the end. And we don't need this ear. But the curl should be a little bit chunkier than that if I want to stick to this chunky style. Just lightly erase some of that because we might need it later. And then for up here, I kind of think it'd be funny to just go real crazy. So maybe this section's pulled up into like a space bun, but there's also like a hair here that missed the space bun that's coming over top of this headband. And then maybe this side is just flowing in the wind. Something like this. Let me take a step back and look at this. What do I think? Okay, I think I want to change this whole section a bit. So maybe she has short hair. So when she pulls her hair up, there's some layers at the bottom. So let's add those. Kind of like this. Shade them and get a little depth. Then on this side, let's see, if the hair ends around here, blowing in the wind, it'll be about that length. And then we can also add that same sort of texture. I feel like a tank top is in order for this chick. Something like that. All right, I'm very excited to like throw some paint on this. Now, I was asking a friend who does gouache pretty well how they do it, like, how? Okay, so what my problem always is I go in with gouache, which is opaque, and when you go over your sketch lines, you lose all of that hard work that you kind of put in. You lose a lot of the groundwork. They suggested that I water down the first layer of gouache. That way I can layer on the details with the gouache and still have a foundation to work from. So let's try that. Got some water. I got some paint brushes. I don't own a good palette to saved my life for some reason. I found this from an old watercolor palette. Let's try this. Let's first try and develop a bit of a skin tone here. Probably need all 4 of these for that, because we can always add darker colors. Actually, with gouache, you can actually always add lighter colors as well. That's actually something cool about it. All right, let's add a little bit of yellow, some red. Probably gonna need more red than that, but then the smidgiest of blues. It's probably too much, but let's give this a mixy mix. Okay, I'm gonna coral color. Now let's take some of that, put it in this little bin, and water that guy down. Mix it again, and we'll use that as our first layer, and we'll see what happens. This is the first time I'm ever doing it this way, so we'll see what happens. Take some of this. Let's see if we can see through it. All right, it's still pretty opaque, actually. Okay, now that I've added a little bit more water to it, I think I can see through it a lot easier, and that will probably help me out a lot. Here's a lighter color I just mixed with a lot more white. Let's see what we can do with this. Just block out some shapes, see what happens. Okay, I think this might be easier to work with since it's a little bit more neutral. I should be able to add more colors without her looking like a Christmas tree. Hopefully. Let me mix some more colors here on the palette before I do anything else. Try and add some of this, see what that looks like. Luckily this is just in a sketchbook, so it's not that big a deal that it looks like she smudged poop on her face. I think it's still just too saturated. Kind of want to start over in a way. See, but now I'm getting to that point where I'm losing all the sketch again. So that was a waste. I'll just have to make a whole new face. But that's fine. I love making faces. Let's do red around the eyes. Use that like original skin tone color for more shading. It's looking kind of interesting. Not at all what I was planning on, but I'm kind of enjoying how crazy and like out of my comfort zone it is, which is exactly what sketchbooks are for. I need a smaller paintbrush. Add in some little details here. The cool thing with gouache is I can add a nostril that's way too big, but I can paint over it later. Now since I'm using so many different colors to paint the skin, I want to try and incorporate those around the rest of the piece so that we don't go too crazy. I mean, we're at a pretty crazy point. I pictured this being a lot more flat colors, whereas this is actually incorporating a lot of blending. I think the nose ended up higher than in my original sketch, so I might need to pull that down a bit. I do want to add some more redness to the cheeks, so let's just grab this color, I guess. Do that. I moved the nose down a bit. It probably should be lighter on like one side of the nose, do you think? If like the light source is coming from that side. Basically just experimenting and yeah, kind of just enjoying the process and not really worried about making anything gorgeous. She gives me a little bit of an undead vibe. I think it's that purple I used. I think I'll use this color for the eyelashes. Not sure if it's dry enough, but let's give it a shot. Boo! Ooh, okay. Looks black next to all these colors. Do you want to add a little bit more shading around the nose here? Just doesn't feel right. So the more I play with this, the closer I'm getting to that like flat look that I kind of anticipated originally. So I might just go towards that anyway. I feel like it's a little bit more my speed, and I still was able to like play around with that like other painterly stuff, so I think I'm heading in the right direction. Definitely looking a little less freaky than it was. I think I'm gonna let that dry and then maybe do something else on top of it, but let's maybe do the hair. Maybe use this for the bandana. Maybe also the tank top. Because I don't want to go overboard with the colors. And then we can maybe use this purple color for the hair. I don't know, I don't want to like make any new colors, so let's see what this does. And then maybe we can make a darker version of this and add in the shapes, but first just add a flat layer of this everywhere. Well, the problem I'm having here is all my paints are drying on the palette before I'm done with them. So it's making this a little tricky. I'm kind of feeling done with this. It's not really going the direction I anticipated. And I've been playing with it for a while since I've noticed that. Like I usually like to give art a chance, you know, when I'm like, oh, this is not going the right direction. So I'll keep trying for like, you know, a while. But if I'm still feeling that after like trying my darndest, probably time to move on and flip the page. I don't know what happened right here on the cheek. Wonder if I can fix that. And that is the cool thing about sketchbooks. They're for experimenting and you get to try whatever you want to try. And if it doesn't work out, you turn the page and no one ever has to know about it. And so if you're struggling with something like that, that's what sketchbooks are for. They're for experimenting, trying new things, and collecting your progress in one place. So maybe one day in the future when I've improved in gouache, I can look back on this and see my humbler beginnings. I actually have made gouache things that I think have turned out better than this, and that's when I focused on creating flatter colors instead of trying to get this painterly look. So I definitely think that's kind of more my speed and maybe what suits me better, but it was fun to experiment and try something different. And now that I have these gouaches out and they're on my desk and I probably won't put them away for months, it'll be fun to play around with them some more in my sketchbook and see what else I can create. So thanks for coming along with me as I filled a spread in my sketchbook. I'm so glad I could share it with you, and I hope you all have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye!